Welcome to the August 28th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Beacon City School District. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Vicki. Excused.
Present.
Here.
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 Excused. Delayed. Thank you. Matt, would you review the fire exits, please?
Exits are in the back of the LGI.
Thank you. Open to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a public statement? No. None. Moving on. We have our workshop tonight is the public hearing for the district-wide emergency response plan. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Kristen?
Second.
Second by Eunice. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm in favor. It passes 5-0. So it is open. Are there any comments from the public? Also from the board about the emergency-wide response plan? This is our legal obligation to have a public hearing annually for this. Okay. Hearing none.
I can just say a couple things about it, just for the, these are just some things that we've been doing for several years. 5 years ago, Beacon started working with a security consultancy group, Alteris. A large number of districts in the Hudson Valley area work with them. So they provide both planned and on-the-spot training for our administrators and our teams at each building. And they also help us develop the plans. And we have a director of security, Mark Thomas, as you all know, who's key in both working with Alteris, with each of our schools, and also collaborating with local law enforcement and emergency services to just prepare. And so the work is always ongoing. And then lastly, one of the things that we spent a lot of time with last year, and I'm kind of looking at Heather, is we started to really do a lot of training with staff at each building around threat assessment. And so buildings have threat assessment teams that are, administrator, school psychologist, mental health professional, and others. And it's just another way for us. It has kind of a severe sounding name, but the goal is that we really try to humanely look at what's going on, both in the world and with our students, and try honestly to do a sort of both a quick and then a more thorough assessment and provide people with the help that they need. So I feel really good about all the layers we have. The last piece is always communication, and our building principals and I think work hard on trying to communicate with folks both sort of on a regular basis, but also in the midst of an issue. So anyway, I'm thankful for all of our principals, for the work of Mark Thomas, for, Heather speared up a lot of work in this area last year too, just in terms of helping us always be better prepared. And so I feel like we're in a good place, like the last 6 years as well in terms of how we respond to things, but we're always learning in this area.
And I'm sorry, you may have said this, but do we retain Alteris as a consultant?
We do. It's through Abosi's COSER, and the initial year is more expensive because they do like an audit, and now it's just more sort of like a reoccurring thing where they help with training and they also help keep our plans updated. The state will have different requirements, sometimes new requirements in the plans each year, and they help us stay up to date with that. They also do instant review sessions with us. After we had the swatting incident, the date is escaping me, but around about last spring, Alteris, our representative from Alteris came. We had Beacon PD in the room, our administrators, me, other members of my team, and they facilitated a whole instant review. It was probably a couple hours worth, and so it's a really helpful resource, and we've really integrated that review process into everything too.
Any other comments or questions? Barb? member of the public? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Elena, second by Flora. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor, passes 6-0. Reviewing the agenda, there is one change, and it is 13.06 F5, remove number 5, teaching assistant, and 16.09 BEAA MOA for the 23-24 school year. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual? The board will return in 15 minutes, Matt? Do you think that's?
Yeah.
So moved.
Kristen? Second by Eunice. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor, passes 6-0. Thanks. Be right back. We're going to resume with the superintendent's report.
All right, thanks, Meredith. So I just wanted to provide just a very brief overview of some things we've been working on the past couple of weeks and just talk about school opening. First, I'm excited to announce that, the roundabout parking lot that everyone has been driving past all summer and wondering when it was going to be done, it is now done and painted and the whole shebang. So they are sixth grade orientation tomorrow, and it can happen without having to park at Memorial Park or whatever. So that part is done, and the board will be doing touring all the buildings with the board Thursday evening. So we're excited about that if you can make it. All right. So first, I just wanted to. I apologize. I have Kelly Amendola, our new South Avenue principal, on here twice, so I will fix that. I'm sort of like juggling between several PowerPoints right now with the different things I'm doing at the start of the year. But we have 19 new teachers. We have 6 new TAs and 1 new administrator. The 1 new administrator is probably our lowest number, which is great. So just adding 1 administrator this year, not a lot of turnover, and really excited about that. 19 teachers is maybe slightly above average for us. I think it's usually about 15. We had a few kind of more last-minute retirements this summer from people reevaluating things and getting credit, from prior places and deciding to retire. But we're really excited. We're going to be welcoming all the teachers at New Teacher Orientation tomorrow. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be here at the high school. And they each are already assigned a mentor. Their mentors will be here tomorrow. So we're very excited about getting that kicked off. And then, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about strategic plan. Last week, we met with the consultants from Med Elements. Instead of it being the strategic plan team, we just had the administrative team, because we'll be doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work and getting things done. So I just wanted to kind of just quickly provide share a couple of reminders and just a couple of quick updates about strategic planning. First is just a reminder, those pictures are from the group last year that helped put this document together. We had teachers, parents, administrators, board members, and it was a really well-run process. And we came up with some really solid thinking. It was really kind of a foundation where we created a mission, a vision, and these should look familiar kind of as bedrock to the whole planning. We have these values that started as board belief statements years ago. Diversity is our strength, the belief in an equitable education, and instilling a culture of care across the district. And then on top of that foundation, we have 4 pillars. One is academic excellence, diversity in staff and opportunities, high quality curriculum, and community engagement and involvement. So, and there we have, our pillars and the goals. I'm not going to go through everything. This is a super busy slide. I'm just going to hit a couple highlights, but we're really excited about focusing on some first steps. So for academic excellence, we already created a calendar this year that has a little bit more professional learning time, and we're going to keep trying to find ways in future years to do more. And we have student voice opportunities that are either already in place or in the planning stages for each of our schools. Those are either newspapers, student councils, student advisory groups, et cetera. For diversity and staffing opportunities, we're really excited about several of these here. One is creating a mentoring program at the high school to interest students in the profession of teaching, especially students of color. The elementary folks are working very busily on creating common field trips at each grade for elementary students. That will be a work in progress, but I think you'll see a lot of that in place this year. And then we had a great conversation at this planning meeting about doing some things in terms of supporting our students who do these extracurricular activities. So it's in the planning stages. I'm looking at Anne Marie, but we're thinking about possibly adding, we want to get the school year started, but possibly adding a second activity run to help, especially some of our athletes who have later practices, and also trying to incorporate more food options for students who are staying late for stuff. So it may not be a full-blown meal, but like more snacks and things for kids to have instead of having to walk to Main Street to get something to eat. High-quality curriculum. We've had dozens of teachers working this summer under SAGI's leadership and supervision with creating curriculum maps and creating more culturally relevant learning experiences for our students. So we're very excited to start being more public with that. We've had a lot of teachers working on that. And then Corey and his team are working on a plan at the high school to get more student input to develop the future course catalog. And then last but not least, this is something we're really excited about. Last year, Sargent, as part of their state improvement plan, they had like a really well-planned and highly high participation event for families, like a parent information night, family information night. There was lots of different sessions. There was food. So we're going to have those at each of our elementary schools this year. We're trying to figure out, at the high school, they have several information nights planned because the high school, so there's so many things going on. So they have about, I think, between 4 and 6 that they have planned. And Roundabout's working on their plan for this as well, just in terms of different ways parents can engage. I just anecdotally, heard several parents sharing what they learned at the Sargent Parent Information Night. And so that needs to be replicated. We have the plans in place to do that, and we're excited to do that. And then being really clear about with families about everything you need to know about those key transition grades. We have a lot of that work done, but this year we're going to be pulling it together and making it a little bit easier for folks to find. So our planning meeting with the administrators was great. It was engagement was high for being this close to the school year, and everyone has a to-do list a mile long. And it's just a really exciting time. So the next stage for the group is we're going to create 4 pillar teams. Some of the folks are going to be the same folks who are on the strategic planning. I put out something at the end of last school year asking for parents who are willing to participate. So I have a list of those folks, and we're going to have administrators head up, facilitate each of these groups. And they're going to start work in early October. They're going to meet monthly to monitor, to assess, and to make further plans. And this, we really feel, is just the start. We have great people advising us and just a lot of excitement around this. And a lot of it's just creating structures and working with our employee groups in terms of how to make this work for them too, and support them in doing this work. So we will be sharing some of this on Wednesday when all of our staff comes back. We're going to gather in the gym at the high school. Meredith gives a speech that everyone waits every year.
Oh man, I can't believe you said that in public.
The Foundation for Beacon Schools gives some updates for all the staff, and I'll share some stuff around this. And I'll get a little bit more into it on Wednesday, but we're giving it I don't have it super highlighted on this, but we're giving it the tagline of Beacon Together. And we're going to start marketing it under that. And so I'm not doing it justice right now, but we're going to really kick it off on Wednesday with the staff. And we're going to work with the folks that helped us design this to incorporate it into all of that. But we're really excited about moving that work forward. And then on Thursday, so then on Wednesday after that, teachers are going to be meeting across grade level teams, department teams. We have our K-1-2 teachers learning about the new math curriculum. Like we'll have teachers all throughout the high school focus on a wide variety of things with curriculum and whatnot. We have required trainings that we're doing in the afternoon. These are more state required trainings. And then on Thursday, they're going to be in their buildings for most of the day. And faculty meetings and meetings at the building level. The elementary schools are all doing the school supply drop-off and, meet the teacher thing at 2 o'clock on Thursday. I think I mentioned 6th grade orientation is tomorrow. So it is like, we're in the thick of it right now. I'm really excited to get started. Bus letters came out.
I got mine.
I got mine. You got.
That's right, you have a student.
All right, so people on the board got it. So everything's coming together.
We're taking the bus.
And we are excited to have this layer and this foundation of a strategic plan this year, which is a new feeling for us. So we're really excited. Any questions about it?
It's all really exciting.
I'm just excited to see these, we talked about so many ideas during the strategic planning process, and it's so great to see this very concrete list and to see things happening already, because sometimes when you do this, you don't know how long it's going to take to put things into action. So it's just really exciting to see everything look like it's here and we are doing it.
Right. So one of the activities we did last week was it was called create headlines. And so we took all these things and we created more action steps that are kind of more for us right now. But then everyone on the team was like, create headlines around all of these different things. And it was fun to do that. And so our hope is, we're going to be doing a lot more social media this year with the Bulldog Bulletin, with our district commendation ceremonies and things like that. So we really want to keep putting like the stories behind the good work out there. And can't wait to see everyone on Wednesday. And if we're kind of keeping it a little bit of a surprise, like it's, I don't want to oversell this, maybe not that exciting, but we do have something for all of our staff. And if any board members free at noon on Wednesday, we're going to meet in the main hallway of the high school. They'll all be coming from their meetings and we're going to be giving it out to everyone. And it's not food this year, but it's a great way to just see people. They'll be heading probably back to their schools or whatever, but still it's like a great time to see everybody and they'll all be coming through the main hallway. So if you want to come help with that, like come at 11:45 and we'll get set up. And, we'd love to see board members for that too.
I can come this year.
The benefits.
Thank you so much. That's great. I can hear the excitement in your voice too. It's just. I lost the agenda. Okay, board comments. Kristen.
I'll just say that as somebody who attended that first session for the parent information night, it was fantastic, and I'm really glad to hear that it's going to be deployed district-wide because it was something I could see paying dividends to the younger that you kind of capture families, because we went to the information session about transitioning to middle school, and we went to another one about digital literacy, and those were great and really helpful, but I know that there was, how to support your child at home, early reading things, like lots of different things that happened for the different grade levels, and I could see it just would compound in terms of building trust, increasing parent engagement, understanding how to engage and plug in and work with the school and what's going on, and taking that home and supporting that work at home. So I'm really happy to see that that's something that's going to be more broadly available and hopefully kind of institutionalized as a regular thing. Excited for the school year to start, and it's really great hearing all these things, so thanks.
Thank you. Eunice?
Thank you. I just want to give a quick update on the policy committee. We met, well, not the committee, but administration, Meredith, myself. We met to discuss what we will be looking at or reviewing for the rest of the year. So we have a plan. The next meeting is September 11th. And I will hopefully give you an update then on what's going on. But I do want to just say, welcome back to the teachers, and I hope that you guys have a great start to the school year, and, to the students, just enjoy the year. I think the board is just happy to hear everything that administration's doing and staff, so we're looking forward to it. I hope they are too. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. And so policy is going to be at 7 PM. Who else is
Okay.
on policy? Eric, are you on policy?
No, I don't think so.
Where's your viewer?
You
I am, but I
and
will be out.
Who's the third?
Semra.
Semra, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll check in with her and make sure.
Second with seven, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
And we.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Although we decided, in general, because we're pairing policy with the PR committee, so we won't have that obviously then, but in general, we probably do PR first and policy second in case, because policy tends to go maybe a little bit longer than an hour.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
that will be our plan.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Alina?
Just excited for the start of the new school year because I'll have a senior. Fall sports started. Was it last week before last? So that's exciting that things are kind of getting back to that whole school year thing. And I'm not sure if this is the actual place to say this, but I was just thinking, being that I have a senior and she's applying for school, that is very overwhelming, speaking from someone who actually works at a school. And I was just wondering if it's something where the high school, I know that the guidance counselors meet with the students and go over the whole process, but to actually have the students bring it back home is, I don't know, that's really, if it actually all comes back home.
Right.
But if there's something that we can do for parents, I know like in the beginning of last year, we talk about how the freshmen come in and we do the whole freshman orientation and we prepare them. And I just wanted to bring it back up of having something for senior parents and prepping for college applications and what the process looks like. How does guidance help the student when it's time to apply?
It would be great to, so just from my personal experience, when my older son was a senior, there was pretty early on a Zoom, because it was COVID times, but I think Zoom is appropriate maybe for this, run by one of the counselors talking about FAFSA and some of the financials. And it was really helpful, and just to sort of get your head around like,
Right.
what this is going to look like. But I do think that if there was some sort of published calendar of like, this is sort of the month when early action is, applications are due. This is early, I always get the two confused, but early decision and then regular application, just like, so they're not all at the same time, but they tend to be
Right.
around the same time. And yeah, FAFSA deadlines and other resources. I think that would be really helpful.
So I have a tentative list.
Okay.
And Corey Dwyer, forgive me if you've made changes to this, because he sent this to me a few weeks ago. So, like I said, it may change based on who's available, but they have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions they want to do this year. So one is supporting your student success in AP and DCC courses. One is preparing your student for success in 9th grade. Those are hopefully happening in September. One is how to use the parent portal. They have one just on the college application process. Another is supporting your students' social, emotional, and mental health. Another is financial aid night. Another is course selection overview. I'm sort of doing them in the order they want to do them, so I'm into January now. February of 2024 would be DCC, like concurrent enrollment information session, which they had this past year. And then they have one just for senior parents in March, just about the last 3 months of the school year and all the stuff that happens. But
Oh, that's good.
and he has various people already identified. I think we've been appointing some of these folks already, right? Haven't? Yes, no, we're working on it. So this may change, but at least that's, I know, his plan in terms of he really, wants to do more. I think one of I don't want to say it's a struggle at all. Like, we really love doing the in-person things, but we know someone misses some things. Like Zoom, you can record and you can
Yeah.
put it on YouTube. So we're kind of trying to figure that out a little bit, but they really want to do most of these in person. I know that too.
I mean, I feel like we could record the in-person, couldn't we? It doesn't have to be a masterful video, but just
Right.
some sort of
recording.
Like Mike,
Do
at
a
least Mike, the
hybrid.
people that are
Yeah.
speaking. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I could guess that more people would end up watching it than would end up attending almost.
Well, or, yeah, just to have that information recorded, even for those that attend it, if, it is a fire hose, the college stuff is like, it's so much, so to even be able to go back if you need to,
Right.
Yeah.
or force your child to sit and listen again if you feel like they weren't listening the first time, which may have happened to us. Yeah, but that's great. And I think in person is great because it offers its own benefit, but I think if we could record as well, that would be terrific.
But that's good to hear. And a DCC course too, because that was like my next big concern of when you start paying for that, since now that we have to pay. So it's good to hear that there will be a session on that. But just excited about the school year.
Congratulations on having a senior. Okay, Eric.
Just welcome back to everybody. I applaud all the work that's been done this summer and also the great work that they've done with the plan. I wasn't here last year on the board, but I heard about it. It looks great, and I like the action steps because they all look like they're things that people can start working towards, and just wishing everybody a great start to the school year.
Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, I am also excited about the strategic plan, and it's so cool to see, what started out as these pages on the walls and these sort of blue sky ideas turn into solid action, and so quickly. I think it just makes it clear how seriously the district is taking this and how excited people are to do something different, and I'm excited to see how it's going to unfold. The only other thing I wanted to mention was that the Dutchess County School Board Association had an organizational meeting over the summer, and we are officially launching an advocacy committee this year. So we are going to start coordinating efforts throughout the county on advocacy directly to lawmakers, but also through our resolutions. So we're sort of hoping that we can build on what happened last year, because we feel like we really experienced some of the results of showing up and speaking with a unified voice and how much more impactful that is. And also just coordinating and information sharing around issues, policy issues, legislative issues that impact all the districts. And then we've also realized that some districts may know a really interesting knowledge holder or expert that can share information with everyone and that can impact advocacy for the entire county. And so I'm really excited about the potential for this and how we can really start coordinating efforts and just becoming more of sort of a powerhouse for advocating on behalf of policies and legislation that impact the districts. So we'll see how that goes.
Great, thank you for the update. I just have a couple of things. So we are, I did set up this committee meeting calendar, and we're already changing it around a little bit, but we still have it as our foundation. We do have a facilities meeting scheduled for September 25th, and possibly an audit committee meeting, but we're trying to decide, I guess.
We might need a little longer in the facilities committee because there's some decision-making that has to happen at that meeting.
Right, so we were thinking of maybe actually giving that 2 hours and moving the audit because we need to schedule with our auditor to receive. So, so that, in any case, the facilities will happen on the 25th, so please, facility committee members, plan on that.
Is this committee calendar, is this something we should all be using?
As soon, we can, I mean, as soon as we, since the chairs haven't been chosen for some of the committees, I guess we hadn't put it on the district calendar yet, but it will be on the district calendar as soon as we kind of get rolling.
Okay, okay.
And we could put these initial meetings on already. On the website. Yeah, please,
Okay,
thank
that'd be
you. So, and just let me know if you weren't certain of when they are. The policy on the 25th, policy on the 11th, and facilities on the 25th. That's it for September.
We don't have the public relations on the 11th?
No, because Flora's going to be.
18th.
Unfortunately, I'm out of town.
Oh, okay. I have it in here for 18.
So, yeah,
Okay.
night off for
Yeah,
that.
sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
Okay, and Anne Marie, I was wondering, do you have an update on the RFPs for legal?
I have not received any comments from any of the board. I can do an updated, because you had circulated the old RFP.
Yeah.
So I'll update it and get it ready to go and send it out to the board one more time to look at, or do you think no one has?
I think if the
comment?
board didn't respond, they're fine with it. I mean, it's not controversial in any way. I don't think it's very straightforward. So I think if you can just update the dates and get it moving, that would be great.
Sure, okay.
Thank you. And that's it for me. Really exciting to hear about the strategic plan and in action. And we got our letter for the bus for the first time ever. My son was eligible for the bus, but of course he's just getting his license, so hopefully he'll be driving. But that
Oh, because
decrease-
of the distance
yeah,
change.
yeah, we've always been like right over, and we even measured it once to confirm, and it's true. So, but that's great. It was great to have that available to us. Thank you. So we have a couple things in old business and new business tonight. In old business, we have the board vacancy discussion, and then in new business, we have the holiday name change discussion. We're not a full board, but unfortunately, we're not going to be a full board at the next meeting either. I wanted to see if there was consensus to move forward with this discussion. I feel like I definitely prefer to have these discussions with the full board there, but I also feel like, given that the next, we know that the next meeting is not going to be a full board, especially with the appointment process, if the board does vote to do that, then we should probably get it moving. So how do people feel?
Are we voting tonight? Would that be-
Well, that discussion has pretty much been had, I feel. So, yeah, I guess we would be taking it to a vote tonight.
A vote to,
So the vote, I guess, well, it would depend on how the motion is made. If anyone wants a recommendation for a motion, I would say motion to proceed with a board appointment process. And if that passed, then there would be room to amend the process, from there. But it would just be like, are we stopping here and we're just letting this go to the election and leaving the seat vacant? Or someone could make a motion to leave the seat vacant. So it's sort of up to. As president, I prefer not to make a motion. I have a motion in my head. And certainly, but first, I guess I just wanted to make sure everyone was okay with proceeding with that.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it feels a little strange since Anthony had such a strong opinion about it proceeding without him, but we
I
have
agree.
really talked about it, so.
Yeah, I mean, we can wait. The longer we wait, at least in my mind, the less it seems like a worthwhile thing to go through. But we have the other, we have the legal RFPs hopefully rolling back in to deal with. We want to review our board goals. There's other things just going on. But I do feel like that discussion is pretty much finished. And so if we're just holding it for the vote until we have a full board, I'm also totally fine with that.
I mean, my only feeling is I don't want it to seem like there was somebody who had a very strong opinion and then we voted on it when they weren't here. That's
Yeah.
my only discomfort with it.
Yeah. Well, do you want to make a motion to table the discussion?
I would like to make a motion to table the vote for the,
I think that's fair.
what is it, the vacancy? Board vacancy, until we meet next.
Okay. And
Second it.
there's a second. Are there any comments or questions?
I just want to say that even though I won't be at the next meeting, I am very clear that I think that we should wait for an election, and I'm comfortable letting that be known. So even though I won't be present next time.
Oh, I mean, do you feel like you'd be losing that vote, or just?
I
Right. I mean, Alina will not be at the next meeting.
and I'm opposite of what, and I would rather, I'm okay with
Going through
the
Appointment process.
appointment process, as long as they have to get their signatures, but that's a different story, but yeah.
Well, you'd have to, you'd want to amend, you want to be present to amend it, or you want to make sure that someone amends it, because the process we'd be voting on is one we followed, so you want to make
So
sure.
the process, so next one, it would either be, we're saying that we're gonna wait till the next one opens, or,
I mean, you would essentially be voting, right, we would essentially be voting to say, yes, we're gonna open the process and we're committed to that, and then trying to change the process, but then that would be another vote, and people may vote for the signatures and they may not,
gotcha.
Yeah.
right? So the process would, I think, move forward regardless. Is that, am I right on that?
If it passes.
Yeah.
yes,
If it passes to
To
Proceed.
proceed with
proceed
it,
with
yeah,
the-
yeah.
I know, it's so annoying.
I mean, someone could also make a motion to leave the seat open until the next election, and if that passed, then that would be the.
That would be that,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it becomes, so we won't have a full board at the next meeting, which is just next week. And then the next meeting is September 18th. If it passed then, we would maybe pull the process together, I guess, at that point, if people were ready. But we're looking at, basically like a mid-October at the earliest appointment. And realize, I just want to put this out there, because I'm also intend to vote against it. Signatures open in January for the May election.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I don't
So-
care, they won't want signatures, but I hear what you're saying, though, like, I hear.
I'm just saying, so then we're asking, this was presented as a this is somehow easier for people, and they, it's like it's a softer entry. But in fact, it's especially, and I think your signature
Yeah.
idea is brilliant, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
think
if we ever do
I'm
do
bummed
an
that we
appointment
didn't do
process,
that in the
I
past.
would definitely vote for that. I
We're
think
so
that,
close to,
but I'm really taking the timing into consideration here. And John was in the last year of his term, so this isn't a term that would extend beyond that election. So I just want you to have all the information. I'm not trying to convince you. I
No,
don't think that
I-
that's my role at all.
So wait, if that is the case, so if this person, just to be totally clear, so the year that we're in right now is John's last year.
Yes, so if we did appoint someone, it doesn't matter, they
running
have to
again in
run
the spring.
again, no matter what, but whoever got them the highest number of votes at the next election would get the last 6 weeks of John's term from the date of the election to the reorg.
Got it.
Because we've had ones in the past where there was a significant amount of time, like Mike Rakowski's.
Yeah, he had
just
2
won
years.
re-election, and then he got transferred for his job
Yeah.
to a different state, and so he had 2 years left in his term. So it was like that if somebody wanted to fill that was a significant time before
And I
they
can't-
face
I can't remember
yeah.
if Anthony has time left on his term. So there might be, there might be, someone gets a slightly shorter term because of Anthony's term, but I just, petitions are available like basically January 1st. That's just, I wanted to make that clear. But I do think that adding signatures, because the part of the appointment process that bothers me, one of the parts is that it is, there's no public input to it. And the whole idea of this is, it's like we are elected and so. But that aside, so yeah, we would, if the idea is like, we really don't want to make a vote like this without a full board, which I really
Then we'd be
understand.
waiting, Flora's saying she's fine with it, but then we'd be waiting with,
Right, but then if
But
there's two of
Alina's not
us
there
missing-
either.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Summer will be back. She may be gone next week as well. And so then we're, that's a really reduced board for a significant vote. And so we would be looking at the September 18th.
I think because we're so also, I guess, I don't know if passionate is the right word, but we all are passionate about this particular thing for the board, because we want to do the right thing. It might be something that I know it's delaying it with the time frame, but it might be something where we all need to, because to have one out, maybe, okay,
3.
but to have 2, potentially 3, that's way too many.
Yeah.
Well, right, when I thought that just Samara was out tonight, I was like, oh, okay. And then when Anthony texted last minute, he couldn't make it. You know, yeah, that's why I bring it up, is that I'm not trying to push a vote because someone's not here. I don't feel, you know, it's also, you can't always delay votes because, but this isn't something that is pressed, we're not pressed by any legal, you know.
Right. And I mean, for me, the idea of like, I'm already a little reluctant around the idea of, you know, the board making decisions that should be a broader public thing. And so like a more reduced board is
Right, now
even
we're
more
this-
to that
yeah.
point, you know?
Okay. Well, why don't we leave the vote until the 18th?
So should I amend my, or do we have to vote on that motion at all, or?
Why don't, wait, we got a second on that motion?
We did, I could withdraw it.
The
The
motion is
motion is to table it,
Okay,
and
so
we
I'm
say
gonna make
table it
it
until
I'm gonna-
September 18th? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Could the goal on the 18th be also just not to, whether we're going to fill the vacancy or not, but also discuss the plan if we're going to?
Yeah.
Because we want to
Yeah.
finalize it right on the
They
18th.
bring their
Okay.
ideas
Okay.
in case it,
Right, because then we want to try to get somebody in by October, right? Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I will try to forward any information I have about what we did in the past,
Okay.
so that people are aware of that. Okay, so the other discussion that is on the table tonight is the,
So we do so.
oh, sorry, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor, passes 6-0. Thank you. So the other thing that we were going to discuss tonight is the holiday name change. I mean, this I feel like is equally important and, you know, I would rather have the entire board here. We haven't really discussed it at all. The, you know, the history of it is it was brought by a community member. And we decided to send it to a community committee, and which Matt ran. And so, you know, Eric wasn't even on the board then, Summer wasn't on the board then. So I really feel like that's something that does need the entire board. I mean, the one thing I will say is, like, when we get to September 18th, if we don't have a full board, we've got to move forward. We can't, you know,
Punt this,
people,
yeah.
we are volunteers, people can't always make it for whatever reason. I think that I think some of the public is frustrated with it taking as long as it has, and I understand that. So I would say, like, if we decide on both of those things to push them back now, I would say that, like, whatever happens, I mean, barring, you know,
When's the first board meeting in October? Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be the last one before
The,
the holiday, if the board did something different.
we would have two, we'd have the 18th and the October 2nd,
Okay.
yeah. So we'd have two board meetings to discuss.
I had, sorry, go ahead.
can we ask questions about this generally right now?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
Oh, I mean, for me, I feel like this is a little bit different than the appointment process because I feel like we did move it to a committee and accepted feedback from that committee. And I can say my hope of that committee, the whole reason why I thought it was a good idea was because there was this issue that was polarizing, and there's so many issues these days that are polarizing, and often people are just fighting it out on, you know, social media or, you know, don't even talk to each other. So I thought the opportunity to have people within the same community talk to each other and listen to each other would be beneficial. I think that there was some movement towards compromise, but it does seem like there was, you know, just a really hardened point of view that it seems like the committee, even with best efforts, did not come to a place that I can say I personally hoped, which would be an innovative local solution to this issue that reflected uniquely the Beacon community as it has been and as it is now. And so, I mean, my feelings about the holiday name itself haven't changed. I think we have a model in what New York City decided to do in recognizing the contributions of the Italian American community while also acknowledging that there is a population of people who have not been recognized and honored. So I'm fine with that. I think we've done everything we
Italian
can.
Heritage Day / Indigenous Peoples' Day.
That's what New York City Public Schools does.
Can I ask, if we decide to change it, whatever version we decide, what is that going to look like? What happens?
Calendar.
The,
Right, but
yeah,
what-
it would,
is there an
it,
announcement, like what does it look like? What happens?
the board would vote on a revision to the calendar. The revision would just be what we would be calling the holiday. And when we revise the calendar, we typically just send out an email to everyone saying we revised it for whatever reason. So I'm assuming we would do something similar. I mean, I know the whole board's not here, but I could take 2 minutes just to talk about the committee
I was going
briefly,
to ask
just
you
to.
if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
I mean, I think we should take this discussion as far as we can since we really hadn't started it yet, and then we can continue it.
So, last school year, in one of these meetings, the board determined to take it to a committee. I think it's important to note, maybe it's just stating the obvious, or we've been clear about this, but the board made clear we wanted the committee kind of equally divided. So in the Google form to collect interested members, we asked what people's view on the issue was prior to being on the committee. So the committee had 6 members. It was equally divided between folks who wanted to keep the holiday name the same and folks who were interested in changing it. And I can say who was on it. It was Jason Mazzacone, Nora Reisig, Joseph Bafuto, Alexandra Devon, Angela Bettina, and Jamie Mulligan. And we would meet in here. We met in March, we met in April and early June. Our meetings, it's not like I was stopwatching our meetings, but we probably spent about 5 hours total together. We had a few readings that I selected. I shared those with the board. I tried to look for readings that kind of showed, the historical origin of the holiday in terms of why it even came about. I also shared one curriculum document that the high school teachers use. They have some others, but that's kind of their guiding viewpoint. And, I just want to say thanks to all 6 of those folks for spending so much time on this issue and coming, the attendance was perfect and everybody kept coming back. We set norms at the very start and, for the most part, sometimes like it was a difficult subject, so those can be hard, but I think everyone in the committee really worked hard at listening and trying to respect other people's viewpoints and things like that. And at different points, there was talk, there was like discussion of different ideas, but we did, like as Kristen said, we kind of eventually came back to where we started. And so that's when I kind of asked each member, and they all kind of agreed to just write, if they wanted to, their own statement to the board, which I know, wasn't the goal. But I do think the process was useful. I learned a lot from it. Jamie's here, so I'll call him out. He actually said at one point, like, this committee would be a good thing for, like, people to see, because it was people who do disagree fairly vehemently about a topic. And as Kristen said, on social media, these debates can be just, flame wars or whatever they call them. And this was 6 people, discussing things in a respectful way and trying their best to hear each other out. So, that all said, we kind of ended up where we started in terms of people sharing their unique viewpoints. But I'm very thankful to the group. They gave a lot of their time to the process. I wouldn't be opposed to doing something like this again. And there was a lot of ideas about like how we could go forward. There was some folks talking about we should put this on the ballot. I tried to stay neutral and I tried to just sort of facilitate it. I think I may have said at one point, I'm personally not the biggest fan of putting it on the ballot, just me, because ballots, my thing on the ballot is getting the budget passed and, and that being really clear to everybody and who the board members are voting on. And I don't love to add a lot of different things on a ballot, but it was brought up as an idea. And, you saw what I shared with you, what the members did. And so I'm not going to try to rehash all of that. But I think it, in some ways, was a healthy process. And, you know, at the end of it, it was hard for me because I kind of wanted to keep going and maybe we can keep, you know, trying to figure out a way through this. But it did seem like we reached a point where it just made sense to do what we did. And that was, you know, share individual statements with the board. So,
One of the most, like in behavioral economics, one of the most powerful forces is called loss aversion. If people believe that they're losing something, it actually has a stronger hold on them than the potential to win something. And I think that I can say, like, I understand the idea of things changing and not being the way they used to be, and feeling like you might something you thought was good, maybe being seen as not the same way that you had always seen it, feels like a loss. And I'm sure there's some sadness and grief associated with that. I think that we run for this post to make these kind of decisions, and that's actually why I feel like there's a weakness in the appointment process, because I think asking to be the person to make the decision is very different than picking the people to make these decisions. And so I feel like that's a bridge too far, but I'm really proud that we did make the decision to have everyone talk to each other. I do think it's not something that should ever disappear when there's a sticky issue. We should always put people in a room together and try to have them work it out. I think that the ground rules should be that it's not a zero-sum game. It's not a win-lose. Everybody's going to lose a little bit. Everybody's going to get a little bit of what they don't want. We always know we make a good decision as a board when everybody is a little bit unhappy. That's how we know. Like when people aren't super mad, but when they're like just a little bit annoyed with us, it's like that's the sweet spot. That's where you've like achieved something that works for a lot of people.
yeah.
And so I feel like we've hit that point here.
And I just want to add one piece, like it came up in the committee and I know this is perhaps stating the obvious too. This is not an attempt by the district, I would assume the board too, if you're thinking of doing this, to like erase a history or change our curriculum. That's why I shared with the group, like we teach about the Columbian era and the Columbian exchange and the Columbus's impact on history. Like it's a well-established part of the global curriculum. The teachers, you know, spend quite a bit of time on it. Like this isn't us erasing, like that we're not mentioning this again and we're kind of, you know, like I know it's sort of maybe saying the obvious, but I just wanted to say that in here too. Like this isn't like an attempt to change curriculum or sort of erase people out of a
Right,
curriculum.
it is purely a name change on the district's calendar.
Yeah.
However, the way that Columbus is taught has evolved over the years, and I think that, you know, for my generation, it was a very, very simple story, and talking to my kids about the way they're taught it, they're hearing a much more expanded version of what happened, and there were a lot of impacts to it, and so I think it's not that the basic facts of Columbus being a very skilled sailor and, getting sponsorship from Spain, et cetera, are in dispute. It's that, like with anything, there was a lot happened because of that, and a lot of people were really devastated from it. And I think that, I guess my feeling is that the way it is taught now, and we know that the origin of the holiday actually has very little to do with Columbus, but the way it is taught now, I don't think someone would be like, let's give this guy a holiday. This guy's a hero. I mean, and I know that it's been super conflated with Italian heritage and pride, and I did not realize that before this discussion, so I was very interested to learn that was such a strong connection. And that's, in that sense, I think that the New York City solution really makes sense because it does recognize Italian heritage. I mean, October is Italian Heritage Month. But I would not want to just make it that because I feel like this is a day that has been celebrated as Columbus Day, for a long time. And the impact to the indigenous people in the United States is so devastating that I feel that needs recognition as well.
Well, I just want to jump, Meredith, you had mentioned that you had heard that some people thought like we were kicking this down the road, had been taking a long time. I totally feel differently about that. I feel like what the board did was a good way to handle it, trying to get information, putting the committee together, I thought was a good idea. Rather than making a quick decision, to make an informed decision is important. So I think that's a good thing. Secondly, the responses we did get back, those in favor of the name change the responses were a bit more lengthy. So I think it's important that I wasn't on the board last year. I did watch a few of the meetings. I actually did speak to Joe Bafuto and just to kind of get a sense, because his response was, one way and the others weren't as lengthy as the others. So I think that, I hope that we also realize we don't want to just base our decisions on what we got back from the committee members, because those responses were, quite different in, what we got. So just to,
I wasn't I didn't give an assignment.
Right.
And I made it optional as well,
I
so.
think one of the reasons that I didn't mention this before, but one of the reasons we went to this committee plan is because we got, a lot of email response to it, and I can forward those to you and to Semra, since you weren't on the board then. And I didn't count it up. I meant to today, and some work stuff came up, but it was pretty close to 50-50. It reflected that committee, and and people were passionate about their whether they thought we should change it or not. And so I've read all of those emails, and I'll send them to you and to Semra so that you can too, so that so that you have sort of a longer. I mean, Joe had come to meetings and made statements, and I think he felt like he had already said his piece. So yeah, I don't think anyone was judging by word count. Just, I think, recognizing that it's hard for people to have conversations about really hard things, and it's hard to it's hard to shift your mindset and hear other people's opinions. I think that's harder than ever in our country, especially.
I think it's also very hard to disrupt a narrative once it's ingrained. That is when somebody believes something is happening, and we all live in these bubbles where it's somehow reinforced. I mean, the fact is, it would be impossible to erase Italian culture from the American fabric right now. Everyone in this room probably eats Italian food once a week. Everybody has watched many TV shows and many movies and many stories and many books about the Italian American experience. It's woven into our entire contemporary fabric. And we have erased entire nations of people. I mean, that's just a fact. Like, we call it Indigenous Peoples Day. We're literally looking at nations at the same size or larger than Italy, and we probably couldn't even name them, and we definitely don't eat their food, and we don't know their stories at all. So it's like, I think what we're saying is their worst fear is something happening that's impossible really right now, and it has happened to someone else. And that was at least one person at that table was from one of those communities. So it's not, I think that splitting between Italian American Heritage Day and Indigenous Peoples Day is actually an incredibly generous offer.
Does anybody else have any comments? Okay. Well, so we'll close this discussion. I will put it on the calendar also for the 18th. And we can bring it up again then. Okay. We have two other items in new business to vote on. Can I have a motion to approve 10.02 and 10.03, the district-wide? Do I have to vote on these separately? No, you can do them. Okay. The district-wide safety plan and the 2023-24 code of conduct.
So moved.
Flora, second by Alina. Comments or questions? Matt, are there any big changes to the code of conduct this
No.
year that we need to know?
The last few years, we've made a lot of changes to it. This year, we're not. We'll take a closer look at it again this year, just in terms of, are there changes for the upcoming year? But no.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. The consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Can I have a motion to approve 12 ? Oh, sorry. Are there, after all that, are there any items that any board members would like to pull and vote on separately? Can I have a motion to approve 12 ?
I didn't have to do anything tonight, so.
I guess I was feeling that. Can I have a motion to approve 12.01 through 16.09?
So moved.
Eunice, second by Flora. Comments or questions? Thank you for the donation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor, passes 6-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the history of a particular individual and, or actually to discuss the superintendent's contract, and the board does not expect to take action after.
So moved.
Second.
Flora, second by Alina. All in favor?
Are we adjourning the meeting yet? Or no, we adjourned from
All,
that?
yeah, we adjourn from there.